Hello everyone, how's it going, and welcome to today's Wild Rift video. In this video we're going to be going through all the item interactions with Zeri. Now Zeri has a very cool unique kit compared to any other champion in the game. She has a completely different auto attack to anyone. Her abilities and passives are very interesting as well. So we're going to go through every viable item that you might want to go with Zeri, and I'll let you know whether it's worth going for the item or not, and I'll give you all my best build at the end of the video as well. But I wanted to get this video out for some time now because there's a lot of interesting questions about Zeri, because it's a little bit different to PC League as well. I think the one important thing before we get into the items is that Zeri's auto attacks is kind of her first ability in PC League. So in PC League, on here items like Trinity Force and Sheen and etc does work, but in Wild Rift it's a little bit different. But as I said, I'll go through all the items and I'll explain to you every single one that we have the potential of building. The first one is Bloodthirster. We're going to be starting off with this item. Pretty standard item for most AD carries. The great thing about Bloodthirster is you get a lot of physical vamp, which in my opinion is very much needed for Zeri. Zeri has very low attack range, and because you want to get somewhat into melee range of most champions, because you want to use your ultimate and you want to at least hit your ultimate on one enemy champion, the physical vamp will help you out a lot with healing if you get bursted down, and it will just help you out with damage overall. Now the interesting part about Bloodthirster is the Blood Swarm passive. Now as you can see, it says physical vamp overheals you, generating a shield that absorbs damage. Now the interesting part as well, if we take a look at Zeri's passive, is that every single time Zeri gets a shield, she gains movement speed. Now how does this work with Bloodthirster? Well, I'll show you now. Basically how it works is that the first proc of the overshield passive on Bloodthirster gives you the extra movement speed. As you see, if I auto attack here, I get the extra little bit of movement speed, as you can see, but that movement speed stops, and it doesn't matter if I keep auto attacking, if I keep generating the shield up, it doesn't matter. I won't get the extra movement speed. You only get the extra movement speed at the first instance of the Bloodthirst. So if I quickly sell the item, I didn't want to buy Hullbreaker, but I quickly want to sell the item and buy it again. I'll show you again. So as you can see, as we're going to get rid of this movement speed very quickly, when I auto attack the champion with Bloodthirster, as you can see, you get a little bit of extra movement speed, and then the movement speed stops. So interesting enough, Bloodthirster in my opinion is a very good item and a must build item for Zeri. However, you have to be careful because you want to make sure, maybe you want to get the extra movement speed at the start of team fights, or maybe you want that extra overhealed shield and get that during, you know, when you're farming up minions or when you're farming up monsters. But just remember, you're not going to get the extra movement speed if you already have the passive shield for Bloodthirster. But it's still in my go-to build and still in my opinion one of the best items. Guardian Angel, not really much to explain here. Guardian Angel is a very good item for Zeri, allows her to be resurrected, allows her to come back to life. This for me is a flexible last item for Zeri. I don't think you need to go for it every single game. I think there's a lot more damage items, a lot more viable for Zeri. But if you need the armor, if you need to be able to resurrect and come back to life upon taking lethal damage, then it can be very, very good. Statikk Shiv, this is an interesting one because I think Statikk Shiv is an okay item for Zeri. Obviously it's one of the crit items for Zeri. In my opinion, overall attack speed items are not the best for Zeri, except for one, which I'll explain a little bit later on. But Statikk Shiv can work. It can work because the passive is quite nice. You do get a little bit of extra movement speed from the electric passive. And you also got the energized passive, which obviously if you auto attack a champion, it means you're able to get the extra little bit of chain reaction once you get to 100 stacks, and that will chain towards multiple enemy champions. But in my opinion, because you have your third ability that pierces through multiple champions, and you have your ultimate, which already basically gives you the Statikk Shiv passive already, as you can see, I don't think it's worth it, in my opinion. I think it's a decent item. You can go for it if you want to, but I think you already have the piercing on your third ability, which allows you to deal damage to minions or to champions behind the main target that you're dealing with. And also you have your ultimate, so you basically have an inbuilt Statikk Shiv passive already. That's my opinion, but as I mentioned, it's still a pretty good item and it's still pretty good. Again, just be careful of the attack speed, because once you go over that 1.5 attack speed cap, the extra attack speed will be converted into AD damage. Next item we're going to be talking about is Blade of the Ruined King. I think this item is pretty decent. Again, it does have a lot of attack speed, and it, in my opinion, is not going to be the best, but it can be really good against if you're against a lot of tanks, because Blade of the Ruined King does do Bonus physical damage equal to 6% of the enemy's current health. So if you get like a tank Malphite, a tank Dr. Mundo, anything like that, then this item can be very, very good. There is an interesting part though. With the Drain passive, it says hit an enemy champion with 3 attacks or abilities. You get to still and gain extra movement speed. Now, Zeri's passive, or Zeri's auto attacks, I should say, fires 6 bullets. However, each time you auto attack, it only procs once for Blades of the Ruined King. So when I auto attack once, as you can see, it only procs 1 charge. Oh, it doesn't proc any charge for some reason of Blade of the Ruined King. Oh, there you go. Yeah, it doesn't have the stacks. I completely forgot. But as you can see, each time you auto attack, it only procs 1 stack of Blades of the Ruined King. This means that you're not going to get the Blade of the Ruined King stack straight away. You have to auto attack a few times. Oh, my Blade of the Ruined King's on cooldown. But you understand what I mean. You don't get the passive straight away on Blades of the Ruined King. You have to auto attack 3 times. So it's not a crazy broken item by any stretch of the imagination. Obviously, you're going to be spamming your first ability quite a lot, so maybe you only need to auto attack 2 times and then be able to auto attack once to be able to get the extra drain passive off. As I mentioned, I think it's a decent item for Zeri. Again, probably a lost item, maybe flexible item that you can go, as I mentioned before, with Guardian Angel, but it's not going to be one of your core items. I'll quickly wait for this Blade of the Ruined King to quickly swivel along and kind of get rid of the drain passes so we can have a look again. But as I mentioned, you're not going to get the drain passive straight away, so you can maybe auto attack, first ability auto attack, and then you get the drain passive. But again, it doesn't work with each individual bullet gives you a stack, so it's not like it's not a completely broken interaction. Rapid fire cannon, I don't think gaining the extra range is worth it really for Zeri. You can see that the extra range can be pretty good because this is my attack range at the moment. If I keep moving and auto attack him, you can see my extra range now. So this is actually the extra range, and it does actually work with Zeri's auto attack. So you can see if I go here, then I can actually proc the rapid fire cannon with the extra range. You can see the extra range you get here. So this is my range at the moment, but if I get the extra range, that's my extra range, which is right there. That's the extra range that I'm getting there. So it's a very interesting interaction. It does give Zeri a bit more attack range, which, you know, can help her at times. But as I mentioned, you want to be kind of close in a way because you want to be able to use your ultimate and use your overcharge passive as well. So again, another item similar to Statikk Shiv, which is maybe is viable. I think Statikk Shiv is probably better than rapid fire cannon in my opinion, but another item that can work pretty well and is pretty decent if you want to go for it. Again, that is completely up to you. Now, the next item, in my opinion, is one of the core items that you need to go with Zeri, and that is Runaan's Hurricane. The big reason why this is a core item for Runaan's Hurricane is because of the Wind's Fury passive. Yes, Runaan's Hurricane does give you a lot of attack speed, and yes, it can be a little bit of a dilemma because the attack speed obviously gets converted into extra AD, but the extra AD, it's not a bad thing at the end of the day. But as I mentioned, the Wind's Fury passive, attack strikes gain attacks strike 2 additional nearby enemies, each dealing 55% of your attack damage, and these strikes can critically strike and trigger on hit effects. Now, the big thing with Runaan's Hurricane is that you only need to land 1 bullet with Zeri to be able to get the full 55% damage off on every single champion, or the extra 2 champions. And I'll tell you what I mean by that. So as you can see, when I auto attack, so if I auto attack without Runaan's Hurricane, as you can see, I'm dealing like 80 damage each time, 68, 138, you know, about 68 damage each time. When I buy Runaan's Hurricane, I want you to keep a close eye on the 2 other target dummies and see what the attack damage is going to be. So if I auto attack this, as you can see, 27 damage each time. You can see that even though I'm dealing 168 damage, only 85 damage, the extra bolts don't work kind of as your auto attack. The extra bolts actually count towards the 55% of your total attack damage that you're going to get from your 6 bullets. So you can add it up and you can work it out yourself. So 136, you know, 68 strikes, but you know, 27 strikes, 68. You can see every single time. And if I crit, if I get lucky and crit, or if I get, you know, some extra attack speed, then you can see that the damage actually goes up. 35, there you go, 69 if I crit. So the extra bolts on Runaan's Hurricane already counts towards your extra damage, and you don't need to wait until all of your bullets finish off. It will proc straight away. As I mentioned, you only need to land really 1 bullet. It's kind of difficult to show if say for example, if I only land like one bullet on this target behind, you can see that it still spreads the damage anyway. You can see if I keep auto attacking, if I keep spreading the damage over time, it will be insanely broken and you'll get an insane amount of attack speed. And as you can see with the attack speed now as well, I reached the wait, if I stack lethal tempo again, sorry, you can see that if I keep on auto attacking, I reach the 1.5 attack speed with lethal tempo and with Runaan's Hurricane. So you only really want to build one attack speed item for Zeri, but this is definitely the core item you want to go for Zeri because it has a really, really cool interaction. Like I said, you don't need to hit all 6 of the bullets to be able to proc Runaan's Hurricane, because Runaan's Hurricane procs on the first bullet that hits, which is very, very important for Zeri. Next item, Ghostblade. You don't really want to build armor pen items that much. You know, this is more of a lethality item for Zeri. I guess the extra movement speed is kind of cool in a way. The extra movement speed is quite nice, as you can see here, and you can deal the a little bit of extra damage if you want to as well, because obviously Zeri works quite well with movement speed because of the shield she gains and everything like that. But again, I don't think it's anything too crazy. You get to do a little bit of extra damage as well. I don't think it's too crazy, and I don't think there's really much to mention here with the extra damage. Obviously, the attack speed that you gain, I'm actually very curious to see if the attack speed you gain is converted into like extra AD. So what's our attack speed at the moment? Because it says obviously we gain the extra 25% attack speed, which is gonna be completely fine at first. If we gain the extra attack speed on top of the lethal tempo, as you can see, it actually stacks up quite quickly, and we actually get up to the 1.5 attack speed bonus with the Ghostblade plus lethal tempo, which is actually pretty decent, to be honest with you. And obviously that's going to go down now because lethal tempo goes down, so maybe it could be pretty decent. I'm not too sure if it actually gives you the extra bonus damage, because there's a bug currently with Jhin with extra attack speed converted into AD, so that's quite an interesting one to figure out. But yeah, again, as I mentioned, not really a great item. Same with Duskblade as well. Being unseen for 1 second causes your next attack to deal extra damage. You're never going to be unseen with Zeri, so again, not really a viable item. I don't know if going over a wall and being unseen by jumping over a wall could be count as you being unseen. I don't think so, to be honest with you. I think the item overall is just not going to be worth it for Zeri at all. Again, I'm curious to see if the wall technique actually works as unseen, but yeah, not too great. Obviously Statikk Shiv doesn't work because we are only we are ranged champion and we're not a melee champion. Another really strong item and a must-buy item for Zeri is Infinity Edge. Standard reasons, really. A lot of attack damage, a lot of crit rate, and also increases our crit rate by 30% as well, or our crit damage, I should say, by 30% as well. So it's kind of a no-brainer, really. We're going to be going for a crit build. This is normally actually my first item for Zeri. I don't really like going for Stormrazor as a first item, and I'll explain a little bit why later on. But yeah, for me, Infinity Edge, one of the best items, if not the best item for Zeri, and you should always go for it as your first item for Zeri. Mortal Reminder, this is situational with Lord Dominik's regards. Mortal Reminder is really good if you're against any champions that have any healing, because of the anti-heal that you get. Deal physical damage to enemy champions, apply grievous wounds, and the grievous wounds obviously reduces the impact of healing and regeneration effects. So really, really good item. Gives you a lot of attack damage, gives you armor penetration as well. Again, no real interactions to really explain here, just overall a very, very good item that you must buy for Zeri if you want to. Now, this is probably the most interesting reaction and the most broken interaction with Zeri. Yes, I'm going to be talking about Black Cleaver. With Black Cleaver, the Sunderer passive procs with just one burst of your auto attacks. That's right. All you need to do is land all 6 bullets from one auto attack with Zeri, and you get that 24% armor reduction straight away. This makes this item absolutely broken with Zeri, and I'm going to show you why as well. The stats are pretty decent with Zeri. I think the only problem we're going with this item is that it kind of delays your crit damage or your crit build power spike. Overall, it gives you a lot of great base stats, and like I said, the Sunderer passive is absolutely huge, and the Rage passive is really good as well because it gives you the extra movement speed. But as you can see with the dummy in front of me, it currently has 100 armor, and if I reduce it by 24%, that means it should go down to 76. Now, as you can see, all I need to do is auto attack once, boom, it already procs and it goes all the way down to 76%. This means that one auto attack, you can see the little shield icon break as well on the target dummy as well. You can see, look, shield passive breaks, focus another champion, shield passive breaks, focus another champion, shield passive breaks. You can proc this 24% armor reduction on multiple enemy champions during a team fight, which is going to be absolutely huge. Maybe not for yourself, but for the rest of your team. If you have like a full AD comp, or if you have an AD assassin, if you could be at the back line reducing their armor by 24%, that allows the Zed, it allows the Kha'Zix to jump on top of that enemy champion and deal a lot of damage. But this item has crazy interactions with Zeri, and it's honestly such an insane item. As I mentioned as well, you know, the rage passive is also very good because you get the extra movement speed, which is very, very nice. But the main reason is that Sunderer passive. That is the absolutely huge part. Right, on to the next item. We're going to be talking about Manamune. And as far as I'm aware, obviously with Manamune, your auto attacks, you gain 10 mana each time. I think it just counts as one auto attack each time. Yeah, so one auto attack only counts towards 10 mana. So obviously you can use this to like stack up your abilities. Your Q is quite spammable, your W is quite spammable, and Zeri does have a few mana problems, but I don't think this is worth it. If there was like a broken interaction with Manamune, like say like each individual bullet worked at 10 stacks for, you know, Tear of the Goddess, then maybe it'd be broken. But as you can see, if I auto attack once, it only gives me 10 stacks each time, which yes, you do have like quite a high attack speed, and it can be quite good if you want to go for it, but only getting 10 stacks each time, I don't think it's worth it. I don't think it's worth to delay your crit damage or anything like that just to get extra damage from Manamune. And the extra passes and everything as well, you know, you got extra attack damage equal to your maximum mana. Again, it's okay, but I don't think it's like completely worth it. You get some like bonus physical damage as well, but I don't think it's worth it at all. Now, Trinity Force is an item you don't really want to build on Zeri. Now, it can work, don't get me wrong. It's an okay item for Zeri, but in my opinion, I don't think it's great at all, and I'll explain why. Now, in PC League of Legends, because Zeri's first ability is kind of her auto attack, it actually procs the Sheen passive, which means that every single time you auto attack, you're going to be able to get that Sheen passive, so you're going to be able to get the extra damage. It's kind of similar how it works with Ezreal. You know, Ezreal's first ability, if you land it, it procs the Sheen passive. Now, as you can see, this doesn't work with Zeri's auto attacks. I could keep auto attacking, and it doesn't work with the Sheen passive. The only way this works with the Sheen passive is if you actually use your abilities. So I can use my first ability and auto attack. First ability, auto attack. You know, second ability, auto attack. That's how you have to proc Trinity Force with Zeri. You can't proc it with your auto attacks like you can on PC League of Legends. However, the item gives you amazing stats for Zeri. Attack damage, maximum health, attack speed, ability haste. All these items are really, really good. The spell play passive is okay because you can still use your abilities quite a lot, and I think it'll be okay. And also you get the rage passive as well, so you don't want to build Trinity Force and Black Cleaver. Sorry, a second. But you want to build one or the other. But in my opinion, Black Cleaver is 20 times better than Trinity Force, and like I said, Black Cleaver in my opinion sometimes is even an item worth getting. But again, Trinity Force, the base stats are okay, the items are okay, but it's nothing really too crazy. Maw of Malmortius, this could be an okay item if you're against a lot of magic damage. Gives you a nice amount of magic resist, gives you attack damage, a little bit of ability haste. The lifeline passive, you know, magic damage gives you a shield, a little bit of a magic shield, and also it grants you a little bit of extra attack damage and omnivamp, which can be pretty helpful for Zeri. But there's no interactions to talk about here. The item's pretty decent. It's not the best, it's not the worst. Like I said, situational item if you're against a lot of magic damage. Sorry, excuse me. A lot of talking in this video. Death Dance, again, another item that doesn't really have a lot of interactions with Zeri. You just get attack damage, armor, ability haste. More of a tank item than anything else. It's not really an item that you want to go for AD carries, because you don't really want to get true damage given to you over time, because you're not going to have a lot of maximum health. So because that true damage over time is going to be dealing a lot of damage to you over time, because you have a lot less maximum health as a carry, it means that the item is not going to be that good, and you're actually going to be losing more health overall than what you are gonna be doing as a tank. So overall, not the best item. Phantom Dancer, in my opinion, very similar to like Statikk Shiv and Rapid Fire Cannon. Another crit attack speed item that you can go, but in my opinion, probably one of the weakest, if not the weakest, attack speed items at the moment in Wild Rift. The Lifeline passive is just not worth it, in my opinion. I think the extra shield doesn't really scale up too much, and I think there's a lot of better options that gives you a lot more damage, you know, like Statikk Shiv, Runaan's Hurricane, Rapid Fire Cannon, even Wit's End as well. But again, not a really great item. Again, an item that you can go if you want to, but again, you don't really want to build that many attack speed items. You only want to build one, and the best one is Runaan's Hurricane. But the extra move speed is also pretty nice. Wit's End. Now, Wit's End is an interesting one. You get a lot of attack speed like you do with Runaan's Hurricane, the same amount. You get magic resist as well. So it kind of begs the question, it's like, is Wit's End better than Maw of Malmortius or not? And in my opinion, I think it is. Now, even though you get the extra, you get quite a lot of attack speed, the attack speed, remember, is going to convert into extra AD. Now, the thing that you'll probably need to test is the extra damage from, are you going to get a bit of, are you going to get more AD with Wit's End and damages with Wit's End compared to Maw of Malmortius? So if we go for like kind of our full build, which is Infinity Edge, Runaan's Hurricane, we then want to go for Mortal Minder, and then Bloodthirster, wherever that is, and it's kind of a you know, kind of a difference. You know, at the moment we have 246 AD with 1.8 attack speed. If we go Wit's End, that already goes up to 1.4 attack speed. So if we keep auto attacking with Wit's End, we get fully stacked lethal tempo, we got up to 300 AD. Now, if we do Maw of Malmortius, how much AD are we going to get? We'll wait for lethal tempo to go down, and we'll keep auto attacking. And this auto attacking, we're going to see how much extra AD we get. Now, with this, we get 320 AD. So overall, we actually get more AD with Maw of Malmortius than what we do with Wit's End, even with the extra attack speed converted into AD. But another big thing to note as well, even though you're getting 20 more extra AD, is that you do get the extra basic attack damage with the Wit's End's passive. Now, the way this interaction works with Zeri is that it just works with the first auto attack, kind of similar to before. So I'm actually going to be dealing 40 extra on hit damage with every single auto attack. Obviously, it's a little bit different because this has 100 magic resist, so I'm not going to be able to get the full 80 bonus magic damage each time. It kind of depends on how much magic resist the enemy champions have. Let's say, give this as an example. I'm getting 40 extra damage on hit with every single attack. So even though we're getting extra 20 AD with Maw of Malmortius, with Wit's End, we're actually technically getting more auto attack damage every single time. We're just going to be getting a little bit of extra AD, so some of our abilities will be able to do some extra damage. Overall, Wit's End seems like the perfect option as a magic resist item. It looks a lot better and a lot safer than Maw of Malmortius. Obviously, Maw of Malmortius, you get the shield, which does give you 30 AD and Omnivamp if you do drop low on health. But Wit's End gives you a little bit more extra damage. And also, why below 50%? Dealing damage to an enemy champion heals you as well for an effectiveness. So again, there are some positives and there are some negatives to both these items, but if I was to choose one, I would definitely go for Wit's End over Maw of Malmortius. Now, the next item is Essence Reaver. Essence Reaver is an interesting one for me. I've never really run into mana problems at all with Zeri, even though you do spam your first ability a lot. I don't really think I've run into mana problems with Zeri. So in my opinion, I don't think Essence Reaver is going to be a great item. Now, it says damaging active abilities and empowered attacks deal 10 bonus physical damage plus 70% if you're crit. This, unfortunately, doesn't work with your auto attacks. It only works with your abilities. As you can see, you only get the little bit of extra damage with your abilities. You unfortunately don't get the extra damage with your auto attacks, even because it doesn't count as an empowered attack or ability like it does in PC League of Legends. So you're not going to be really getting any extra bonuses with Essence Reaver, except for the extra damage that you're getting on the abilities, which as you can see, I do 103 damage and that goes up to 14 damage. But again, SS Reaver scales with crit. So the more crit you buy, the more damage you're going to get. So say, for example, we go for like SS Reaver, Runaan's Hurricane, i.e. Mortar Reminder, plus Bloodthirster. So we have 100% crit. So we're going to be dealing 48 extra damage with our first ability. Second ability, we're going to be doing 78 extra damage. And obviously it doesn't really count with our third ability. So our third ability, again, it doesn't count as an empowered auto attack. So again, you can kind of work it out yourself to think if it's worth it for you. If you do use your abilities a lot, and if you do feel like you run out of mana, then it's not a bad item to go for at all, because it gives you a bit of ability haste, attack damage, and you can also restore some mana. But again, I don't think it's a, you know, the best item, or it goes into my go-to build. Another item that is pretty good but doesn't actually fit in my go-to build is Stormrazor. Sorry, I was going to say Navori Quickblades. Is a Stormrazor. I'm getting a bit ahead of myself. Now, Stormrazor is a pretty good item for Zeri. It gives you attack damage. It gives you attack speed, which obviously can be converted into extra AD and crit rate. But the thing that's really awkward for me is this energized passive. Now, the energized passive is obviously moving and attacking will generate energized stacks. And the energized attacks, you gain bonus magic damage and slow for 75%. The problem is with Zeri is that Zeri's auto attacks can be blocked by minions or monsters. So say, for example, on like Caitlyn, I can focus when I get the Stormrazor passive on an enemy champion to deal that extra magic damage. With Zeri, you cannot do that. So I'll give you an example. Say, for example, I have Stormrazor, I get the passive up, happy days, everything is all good. Say, for example, this first target dummy is actually a minion. I want to you know, deal the extra bonus magic damage and do the slow to the champion behind the minion. Unfortunately, I cannot do that. The minion, as you can see, blocked the extra 60 magic damage and actually blocked the slow. This means that Stormrazor doesn't really have a great interaction with Zeri. Say, for example, this is a minion here, and I want to try to attack the champion behind. Again, if I'm just auto attacking from here, I'm trying to auto attack the champion behind, it could get blocked by the minion. So this is a big problem with this item for Zeri. Now, as I mentioned, the base stats are great. Attack damage, attack speed, and crit is great. But the passive is not that great for Zeri because you can't target lot and because your auto attacks can be cancelled or can be blocked, sorry, by minions or monsters. Next item, Serylda's Grudge. Is the slow worth it? That is the big question with Serylda's Grudge. In my opinion, I don't really think it is. Now, you don't get the slow on your auto attacks. The slow doesn't count on your auto attacks. You do get slow on your first ability, and you do get the slow on your second ability as well, which can actually be really good if you use your second ability through walls. So say, for example, I'm going to try and hit the hopefully I can hit the target dummies. Yeah, if I hit the target dummies here with my second ability, that could be pretty good because the slow, you know, you got the slow from the Serylda's Grudge and also have the slow from the second ability as well. Can be pretty decent. Again, if I use my third ability, it doesn't count. If I use my ultimate though, it does count as everyone being slowed, and I do have the overcharge to deal some extra damage. But again, in my opinion, I don't think it's worth it. I think Mortar Reminder is better, and I think Lord Dominik's Regards is better. I think both of these AD armor pen items are just a lot better. Another interesting item, which is obviously a unique item to Wild Rift, so we haven't actually tested this out as Zeri before, is Solari Chargeblade. If you critical, you get critical rate, you get attack speed, and you get ability haste. Now, Sunburst passive is an interesting one. So use an ability gathers radiance for up to 10 seconds. Attack that hit, expend a charge, and deal bonus magic damage on hit. This bonus can be critically strike. So if I get the passive stacks on Radiance, which obviously works with all our abilities, I need to get rid of my third ability as well, actually. There we go. So if I auto attack now with Solari Chargeblade, I gain extra 40 damage each time, which obviously can go up if I have, if I crit, like it says, like I did there, 80%, 80 damage if I crit. Now, again, the only problem with Solari Chargeblade is that the extra damage can be blocked, unfortunately. Now, you can do, like, I can't remember if this works or not, but I think you can do a cool interaction with, like, I don't know, it doesn't work. I don't know what I'm talking about. This doesn't work. I thought it would work because it's like an on hit. It actually doesn't. It only works on the first champion. So Solari Chargeblade plus Runaan's Hurricane doesn't work. Ignore what I was just about to say. But again, it's kind of the same problem that you're going to run into with Stormrazor, that Solari Chargeblade, the extra damage that you're going to be dealing, might not be on the champion that you want to focus. Again, you can't focus one champion, so you can't focus like the back line. It can be blocked by minions and it can be blocked by monsters. So that's why, in my opinion, Solari Chargeblade is not going to be worth it. Now, the Navori Quickblades is a very interesting one. This actually fits into my main build, and I'll explain to you why. So you get attack damage, crit rate, and ability. So all of them are pretty good. The big thing is the Death's Charge passive. So critical attacks reduce your non-ultimate ability cooldowns by 20% of their remaining cooldown. Now, I'm going to give you a little bit of a sneak peek of my full build here with Zeri, and you'll see why Navori Quickblades is going to be good. So this is my full build with Zeri. Is my go-to build with Zeri at the moment. I normally go Navori Quickblades as the last item, or if I feel like I don't need the physical vamp, I'll go for it as a third item instead. Now, the great thing is with Navori Quickblades, with your third ability, is that your third ability gets reduced every single time you auto attack, and it's also going to get reduced every single time we critically strike. That means when we dash with our third ability, we have a 16-second cooldown, but all I need to do is auto attack 4 times and it pretty much goes to 0 seconds. So I dash, I auto 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Let's just say 5. 5 will guarantee your cooldown of your third ability. So say, for example, if you're attacking a really beefy frontline champion, you just dash, auto attack a few times. You know, 5 times is actually not too long at all. You dash it, you then dash again, auto attack a few times. And obviously every single time we're dashing, we're able to pierce through our damage and pierce through the damage into the backline. As you can see, we can start to deal a lot of damage with Navori Quickblades because we can use our third ability more often. Obviously, this also works with the other abilities as well. So we can keep spamming our first ability, we can keep spamming our second ability, our third ability. As you can see, we can keep spamming over and over and over again. And in my opinion, it is very, very good for Zeri. Now, obviously, this means you might fall into a few mana problems, but I think it's a really, really great item, especially in the mid and late game when you get a few items under your belt and you get a few crit items. When you have at least 75% crit chance, I think this item is definitely worth it because it means you can dash around a lot more often. So Navori Quickblades, a big massive tick for me. Edge of Night, kind of similar to like Ghostblade and Duskblade. It's a more lethality item. It's more to do with assassins, so it's not really going to be that great. There's just a lot more better items than Edge of Night. You don't really want to go for this item at all. Hullbreaker, again, a split push item. You're never going to go for a split push item on Zeri. Maybe if you want to go like top lane Zeri, it could be pretty good because you do have pretty good AD ratios with your auto attacks and also your abilities, so maybe that can be pretty handy. But again, you're ranged champion as well, so it doesn't actually count. Actually, I'm curious. I'm guessing this is a stupid question, but I'm guessing Zeri works as a ranged champion, right? Right? How much armor do we have at the moment? So we have 94 armor. So that should only go up to... it should only go up by 25. Yes, it only went up by 25. Okay, so she is a ranged champion. I was just curious because the auto attack is very, very weird, so I kind of have to test out these things. Again, Divine Sunderer, not a very good item. Again, you don't really need the extra healing. The Spellblade passive doesn't work with your auto attacks as well, so it's basically a weaker Trinity Force. Again, not really worth it. Base stats kind of meh. Serpent's Fang, I think you can go Serpent's Fang if there is a lot of shielding on the enemy team. Again, it's going to delay your power spike of the crit items, but I don't really know. I don't really like it. Lord Dominik's Regards, though, however, is very, very good with Zeri. And a big thing about Lord Dominik's Regards is that you are going to, I think you do, you're actually going to be getting extra, well, hopefully this Lord Dominik Regards bug is fixed, because Lord Dominik's Regards is currently bugged with Jhin, and it doesn't actually give him extra AD. I'm curious to see if this actually works with Zeri as well. I'm going to build enough attack speed items, so we actually get to 1.5 attack speed, so we just go for Trinity Force as well. So we are currently at 1.5 attack speed. Now, the thing is, we're going to get some extra AD with lethal tempo, but we should be getting, we should be gaining 80% attack speed. So this should be giving us a lot of extra AD, but I'm not actually too sure how this works. So we're at 170 at the moment. One auto attack, 176. So I actually don't think Lord Dominik's Regards actually gives you a lot of extra AD if you're at maximum attack speed. But most of the time, you're not going to be getting maximum attack speed Lord Dominik's Regards anyway. It's basically going to be used instead of Mortal Reminder, and you just get rid of one of your crit items. So you just go, I take my build, for example, I would go Infinity Edge, Runaan's Hurricane, Lord Dominik's Regards, Bloodthirster, and then my last item could be flexible. I can maybe go for Guardian Angel. This allows me to maybe build Black Cleaver as well, so I can be an extra bit tankier. But this means you just have your 100% crit chance with all of these items, and then you get the extra attack speed, which is going to be quite nice. And then it allows you to get a little bit of extra attack speed, so you can stack your lethal tempo a lot quicker and do a little bit of extra damage. Yeah. Lord Dominik's Regards, great item for Zeri. And I think that's pretty much everything. I don't really know if there's any other items. I can maybe go into some AP items in another video, but I don't think it's worth going for any AP items. Some people are talking about Riftmaker. It's not great. Like, Riftmaker is not good on Zeri at all. The extra healing is just not great at all. I think the extra healing from like Bloodthirster is a lot better. Horizon Focus obviously doesn't work with your auto attacks, and I don't think there's any other AP items. The thing is, like, Zeri kind of got bug fixed, not bug fixed, but hot fixed. So her first ability, if I'm not mistaken, I'm pretty sure it's her first ability. Yeah, her first ability doesn't do as much AP damage as what it did before. So they kind of left the AP build before her general release. Other than that, I think that's pretty much it. Obviously, Spirit Visage has a good synergy with Bloodthirster because it gives you an extra shield. It gives you extra healing as well. Spirit Visage in general is a very good magic resist item option if you want to be a little bit tankier. Other than that, again, as I mentioned, not really any other items to go. In terms of boots, I might as well quickly talk about boots. I think Gluttonous Greaves is very good for boots. I think the extra healing is very nice. The Omni Vamp healing is very nice. As I mentioned before, physical vamp is very important. You can go for Boots of Fur, but just a reminder that Boots of Fur does give you the Rage passive. So if you build Black Cleaver, which also gives you the Rage passive, plus Boots of Fur, the Boots of Fur does not give you extra movement speed. You only get the one burst of movement speed from Rage passive. You don't get the extra movement speed with, it doesn't stack basically. The Boots of Fur movement speed doesn't stack with Black Cleaver. So just bear that in mind. If you don't build Black Cleaver, then Boots of Fur can be pretty good to give you extra movement speed. If not, you can just go for Gluttonous Greaves. But defensive boots are okay. I don't think you go for Boots of Lucidity. In terms of boots upgrades, I think Stasis is probably your best upgrade. Stasis, maybe Proto Belt, but you have a lot of dashes anyway. You have your dash, so I think that's pretty much it. That's everything. Hopefully you all enjoyed this type of video. Obviously, it's a little bit different to the type of videos that I normally do, but I think it's really interesting to talk about Zeri because she's a very unique champion. And I know a lot of people have asked me a lot of questions about Zeri and what items I should be building, etc. Tomorrow I will be releasing a full gameplay of Zeri with my go-to build. I'll explain my build a little bit further. But as I mentioned before, I gave you a little bit of a sneak peek before, is Infinity Edge, Runaan's Hurricane, Boots of Fur with Stasis, Bloodthirster, Mortal Reminder, and Navori Quickblades. This is my full build with Zeri that I love going every single game. So hopefully, as I mentioned, you enjoyed this type of content. If you did, please leave a like, please subscribe to the channel, and until next time, I'll see you in next Wilder video. Peace.